Emile, how are you? Good to see you.
Good. Nice to see you.
Yeah, I've been interviewing you since you were a little guy. So look at you now in the Immaculate Room. Congratulations on this. My goodness. Okay, I have to know, what was your immediate reaction when you got this script? Because it really presents a dilemma here.
I love the script that Makunda wrote, and I really love the character. This guy who seems so upbeat and so
Yeah,
happy, but he has all these dark demons that he's kind of hiding and have stashed away in his heart. And the idea of walking away or staying for $5 million in this room that you're
yeah.
supposed to be in for 50 days, it's tricky because it's kind of a challenge, and it's not it's not a kind of thing that everyone agrees on.
Oh,
It sort of splits people down the middle more than you would think. It splits people down the middle.
okay. So do you think you would be able to handle it either alone or with one other person?
Well, it's all in the details, because I think I'd be able to handle it for sure. But I also have a son who's almost 9 years old. And then I'm like, whoa, would I not be able to talk to my son? And of course they'd be like, well, of course not,
Right.
and then that would, I'd be like, well, if anything happened to him, would they contact me? And they'd be like, well, of course not. So
Exactly.
then knowing that, all of a sudden my confidence is gone.
Right.
So it's all in the weird details where when you really think it through, it becomes much harder to say yes.
100%. And I just talked to him kind of just a little bit before you, and I was saying, made me think right away, like, oh yeah, sure, I could last 50 days, no problem. And then I thought about it and I went, no, not even because he goes, what, for $5 million? I go, no, because money isn't everything. It really isn't. And I find it interesting that this film is coming out just after what we went through with COVID. Now, of course, we had our phones and our TVs and all that kind of stuff. So it's
Yeah.
not quite the same. And we weren't being paid for being isolated, but it did really make you think. Like, after the pandemic, did it make you have a different look on what you did in this film?
When I first read the script, it was pre-pandemic. So it was like, what the heck is this? And then when we finally shot the film, we had been in the pandemic. Everyone had sort of been through it. So it was like,
Right.
oh wow, this
Yeah.
is a little familiar now. At first I was worried that perhaps everyone having been through the lockdowns, it would make the film feel not as cutting edge in a way, because it's
Yeah.
like everyone's been through their own mini lockdowns. But what I realized was that the familiarity with the subject in a way would actually ground the audience more into the movie, and in a weird way make the film more commercial, because people would have that shared experience. So I think it's a thing where it's an asset to the audience to have that experience as opposed to a drawback, because it helps make it a little bit more real for people,
Oh,
because they have their
100%.
own experience.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. You have such great chemistry with Kate. I mean, she's not a hard person to get along with or look at, for that matter. She's wonderful. But it's almost like you're doing a play. Just the two of you on a set, stark white set. Wasn't it an immediate chemistry between you two? How hard is that, Emile, when you're so one-on-one with somebody in a film like that?
Well, that was the big question of who the Kate would be, the character Kate. And
Yeah.
then when Kate Bosworth came into the picture, I couldn't have been happier, because Kate and I had worked on a film called Force of Nature a couple of years before.
That's right.
And we
Yeah.
got along great. I mean, we
Yeah.
got along so well. We were like just buds, to the point where I'd shot a music video of a song I'd made called Love Is Real, and she was like the star of the video. And we
Okay.
shot that on our off days in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So we got
Yeah.
along like peas in a pod.
Right.
And
But now
she was
you're really
literally,
peas in a pod in this movie. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
a different dynamic. And what your
yes.
characters go through too. I would think that it would be interesting to be able to act off somebody like that.
Well, and the irony is that in a big way, I'm probably a little bit more like Kate's character, and Kate's a
Ah,
little bit more like Mikey's character,
interesting.
personality wise.
Yeah.
There to a degree. So it was almost like we were flipping personalities for the movie.
Yeah, it was really cool to watch it. And I also thought the treats were really interesting. How long did it take you to get the green off your hands?
Oh man, yeah, the green was stuck on my hands. And I did all the drawings on those walls too.
Very good.
Like just crazy drawing. It was kind of fun, like drawing and having this movie crew film me drawing. I felt like I was like, wow, I'm like a real artist here.
Hey, if this acting thing doesn't work out, Emile, you might have another career there.
I don't know about that. There is a
No,
lot of talented artists out there.
yeah, no, I'm just teasing you. No, but it was fun to watch it, and just it really shows you how when you are stuck with somebody under those kinds of conditions, how you really get to know the person you thought you might know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Mukunda, the director writer, he really had this vision of like by the end of the film, this room had like ripped these people apart, all of their artificial exteriors, and they're like these raw masses of who they really are at the end.
Yeah,
And that was kind of the goal for him,
yeah. No, it
in a
really,
way.
really worked. Really worked out. And he's totally zen. I love talking to him because I know he was
I
a monk
know
before. He was
he's
a monk.
so zen.
Yeah.
He's so cool.
Yeah, he really is a cool guy. Yeah, I really enjoyed talking to him too. Okay, so just before we wrap up, I got to ask you, because like I said, I've been interviewing you. Oh my God, Alpha Dog, Lords of Dogtown. Yeah, Lords of Dogtown. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, The Girl Next Door. We go way back. I can't even believe you have a 9-year-old son. This is blowing my mind. But anyway,
Well, he's almost 9.
okay, but still, you shouldn't be having a kid. You're a kid. But anyway, I digress. But I have to say, I'm looking back at your career, so many amazing performances. What was the one for you in your mind that changed it all for you?
um well, I think the one that was probably like it felt like a culmination was Into the Wild,
Oh, yeah.
because I kind of done some serious roles, and then Sean kind of tapped me for that, and we made this like was like a 7-month production. It was
Right.
so full on in so many aspects, playing this real guy.
Yep.
And also too, the way that the film has been received, because it's almost been, I think it's 15 years ago
At
now.
least. Yeah, it's got to be. I think
But
was that at the Toronto Film Festival? I'm
it
trying. I think
was
yes,
at
because
TIFF,
I
yeah.
remember. Yeah, yeah, we talked for that one too. Yeah, because I'm from
And
Toronto. Yeah, yeah.
what's crazy is that film, more than any film I've been in by a lot, it just has like followers of this idea of adventure, and like people around the world, and people are always watching it and like sending me messages on
Wow.
Instagram from like around the entire world. And it's weird, it like hits certain countries at different times, and it'll be playing in China, like was huge in China with all the young people in China, everyone,
Yeah.
all these Chinese people sending me messages. And I
That's
remember I
cool.
went to like the Congo for a week with Oxfam, and it was on TV there. I mean, it's like it's just a film that has had
Yeah.
a really, really interesting, like evergreen shelf life. It's like
Amazing.
it's like it came out, but it never felt like it stopped coming out in a
Right.
weird way. I don't know.
Well,
It's like it's hard to describe, but it's like it's always coming out or something. It's
you're
hard to
right.
it's hard to
And especially with streaming services now, like all your films, there's always somebody new who will discover you or
Yeah.
discover that film. It's
Yeah, and people just lock on to that film in a way that's unlike the other films I've done, where there's
yeah,
people that are like they have like tattoos over their body. I mean, it's like it's a whole thing.
the whole thing. Crazy, crazy stuff. Well, just before we wrap, what's next after this one? Got anything else coming up?
I've shot a bunch of stuff that's coming out. There's a film I did with Thomas Jane called Dig,
Oh,
which
I
comes
love
out
him.
at the end of September.
Okay.
Which is a really cool cat and mouse thriller where I play this really evil redneck dude.
That must have been fun.
Pretty funny. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a pretty darkly comic performance.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, I look
Yeah.
forward to that. And yeah, and I listen, always my pleasure to have the opportunity to talk to you, Emile. You're so great. You were really good in this one, and
Oh, thank you.
totally decided there's no way I would spend 50 days in a room for $5 million. Just, yeah, not happening.
All right.
Thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Best of luck to you. And hopefully we'll see you back in Toronto soon. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Bunny.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.